Alrighty, it's that time again. We're doing some more painting and the morning protein shake. So we're kind of got that going on. The interesting thing is we're having more problems. More problems. What are the odds? More problems. And yeah, it is what it is. Problems with the Mac. I know it's hard to believe, but yes, we actually have some Mac problems. And yeah, it's. We would have the Logitech up here, probably out of frame. You have a Logitech web camera that we have up there, and then we're shooting off of an emit webcam. And before, we'd be able to get both of those. But right now, yeah, not so much. Everything's kind of glitching, and let me get my tablet up here so I can see some comments. So yeah, that's what we got going on. Not really enjoying it. It's kind of a messed up thing. So get all that plugged in. Okay, this guy says hi. This is a little Warhammer chaplain helmet that I think I got from Galactic Armory before they got the cease and desist from Games Workshop. So I just printed out a small one, and what I ended up doing is kind of doing that filler thing. And so I just printed this out as just something to do. But with this, I started sanding it down, and I wanted to see with the wood filler how well that would work. And then the 2-in-1 filler spray paint that you can sand down, and just kind of did some stuff just to see what it would look like. And yeah, probably another coat I think will be good. I mean, it's not perfect, but we'll probably paint this on at another date, as if I don't have enough to paint already. So yeah, we'll see you later there, guy. Back to the guy at hand. This is our Warhammer dude, and again, we did some prints with this, or some painting with this, primarily speed paints, with the exception of these right here. Anything that's bone colored, we ended up using skeleton bone from the regular army paints. So I like that color, and I think what we're going to end up doing is going and we'll do some washes on those to kind of give them some detail. And we did some more stuff. I got to do some silver on some of these. I noticed we got to do that. So we're getting down to the end where we're running out of stuff to do. And that leaves us with the head. And of course I want to do a little bit of blood splatter on the axe. And I think that'll come out really well. So yeah, there it is. So kind of give you the view of how that looked. The cape, we got to put some, we got to put a wash on there. I think we'll do that as well. And yeah, we'll do, oh, that turned out really good. That fire drake and the gold. Yeah, nice. So with that, let's dig into, and I think we'll do some strong tone on the bony areas, and this strong tone will come out pretty good. So I've used that before in the past. And this is a wash. This is from the regular Army Painter War Set. And I think that's washing that out a bit, isn't it? There, maybe that'll work. I don't know, that it takes a minute for the adjustments to be made. So if you're kind of wondering why I'm kind of slowing down here, it's because it's like trying to look at the feed on my tablet, and we're going to assume that this is okay. So we're just going to go ahead and run with this. So with this, we don't need a fine-tooth brush on this. So we just need something that we can slap some stuff on there, and so we can use a larger brush. I think we'll just go ahead and use this one here, and we should be good to go. Now this is a dark wash, so, and as you can see by the cap color that we've got there, that should give us a pretty good indication of what that's going to look like. So we'll just go ahead and we'll get this, and let's go ahead and we'll begin on this guy down here. And this will get into the recesses, and that'll give us some more details, some more depth, and that'll be good. Depth and details are good. Get those little places in the butt and in the back. So there you can end up seeing right there how that adds some shadow and depth to that. So yeah, always digging the wash. So the wash is good. The wash provides some good coloring effects. Whereas before, without a wash, what you'd end up having to do is just basically, you would end up having to, do all of these little things, the edge highlighting and all that. And so we're going to get that kind of dark on there that you can see. So the wash gathers in those areas, and we get some pretty good depth on that. So we got the little one right there. And then if you got too much, you can always just kind of clean your brush off and soak it up a little bit. And so like on that little part right there. And we'll do the one on his chest, on his stomach. Which a little bit of wash is nice, because then it'll take a little of the color away, but what we'll end up with is we'll still get a little bit of detail in there, a little bit more. It'll be more recognizable. So yeah, and then now onto the bones up top. And there's not a lot of recesses on these, but this will give it kind of an aged look. And if you're ever unsure about a shade and whether it's going to work or not, always start off with a lighter shade, lighter tint, I guess you could say. And then what that will do is, if it doesn't work out well, then you can always put a little bit of a darker shade on there. So there you go. You've got that there. So again, it brings a little bit of a worn look to those bones. And we're going to see what happens if we do a shade on this here, which I'm really kind of wondering how that's going to work out. So I mean, this is really going to darken this up a bit. And I don't know. could work out. Now we might have to come back and mess with the color of that. Now I could have went with exactly what I was saying. I could have went with a lighter shade. But we'll see how this turns out. We can kind of play with this a little bit and see how that goes. So, and then it's just, this cape is just, there's so many details on this model, but this cape is just so messed up. It's just kind of like put in as an afterthought, it seems like. And it's, you know, polygons, you can see the polygons and the triangles and stuff in it. It's just kind of like, what were you doing? But hey, it was a free model, so free is good. Free is good. We can just kind of play with that a little bit. And what we could end up doing on this underside is putting a real dark wash on here. So that way you'd get really dark on here on the back. It's not too bad. But like underneath here where you have the shadows, you're going to have a little bit of light there, so you could kind of just hit with your fingers and kind of give you know, some highlights, and we could go back and even do some edge highlighting. So that's not too bad. It looks worn, and it does give it a little bit of a darker, grim color, which all of this kind of does, and that's not too bad. So it is what it is. So that turns out good. Washes always turn out pretty good. I like the washes. So, washes are good. It's always good to wash. Always good to wash. I see we got a couple of viewers. So good to see you all there. Hopefully you're having a good day. Today is Sunday here in Korea. So it's Sunday morning, and it's, what time is it? It's about 8 o'clock in the morning here. So if you're joining us, I'm imagining you're probably from the U.S. or someplace outside of Korea. But what we ended up doing is retiring here in Korea. And with that, it's been good. Been able to retire early overseas and jumped into painting and doing stuff like that. So here's another model that I ended up doing, a little cave troll from Lord of the Rings, and the skin was done with ink, with a series of different inks, and then we used a sponge, and yeah, we did some washes on here to try to give some shadow effects on the back of the armor, because it was just kind of like a huge silver area and there wasn't a real definition. So with washes you can get a lot of stuff, and yeah, we got some edge highlighting on there as well, and then yeah, that turned out really well. And then we got some other little stuff, you know, little Warhammer type dudes here that we got. Always got some of those, and then we have some really tiny miniatures that we got here, and these guys have been a pain because of all the details and it being so small. And yeah, I just kind of hit these every once in a while, and then I'll go back, I'll do something else. But yeah, so much fun, so much fun. Okay, we got a couple more areas that we can end up doing here. And part of that is going to be silver. So we want some silver, and we have, why is my silvers, my metals are out of place. That's bronze, that's good. Broadsword silver, and I think what we'll end up doing with the silver is we've got, on this hand here, we've got these tubes. So I'm going to make those silver, and as I'm seeing everything else, I think what we might end up doing is maybe some silver on like these little claws that he's got coming out here, and then of course on his big hand we'll do the blades in silver. So I think that'll look pretty good as well. So let's jump on to the metallic. I really like the Army speed paints. There are so much you can do with these. If you do dry brushing and, or zenithal, which is basically kind of the same thing, but you can use an airbrush. And I've got some examples here. So this is an airbrushed example. This is a guy that we ended up doing, and then it was primed black. And then what I did is hit it from above with white. And then as we turn it up, we're able to get all of those dark areas, those shadow areas, remain as shadows. Now you might be wondering, why would that be a thing? The great thing about speed paints is that with this shadowing of the zenithal process, whether it's dry brushed or airbrushed, what ends up happening is when you put the speed paints on, since they're kind of transparent to some degree, they're not opaque, is that you will get that shading. So in other words, the color goes on, but you'll get that shading. And that is super, super impressive. Because otherwise, what you would have to end up doing is putting a paint on, put a dark paint on, then put a light paint on, then put a lighter paint, and then do some highlights. And that can be a pretty involved process. And that's a lot of skill to do that. But with this, either zenithal or dry brushing, you can get some really, really good effects on there. Matter of fact, let me show you the most recent. And I did a video on this guy, which is this guy here, the World of Warcraft. And he ended up 4.5 hours, and he just ended up really, really nice. And the majority of this is speed paint. And what we did was dry brushing on this, and yeah, all of the details on this just came out fantastic. So yeah, this is pretty amazing because the majority of this is speed paint. The only thing that's not is, I think, the teeth, which were skeleton bone for his teeth. And then these areas on his chest, we used some UV resin, and on his belly button there, just put a drop of that, cured that, and then what we ended up there was a real high gloss on that. So yeah, this is what speed paints can do. So I mean, that is some impressive stuff right there. So with that being said, let's get back to what we're going to do before the paint dries. Because we need to do this silver. And the thing I like about, I mean, this is kind of a darker color silver, but I think it'll still work. It'll kind of break up all the red that we have here, which will be nice. We got a tiny bit. Seriously. Okay. Crisis averted. So we got that one. I couldn't imagine painting this if it was like 32 millimeters. And I think part of the thing that kind of drove me away from doing 32 millimeters was trying to get all the details, because it's so small, and that just kind of drove me up the wall a bit. So. And so, I started seeing people that were painting larger items, larger things and models, and I was like, hey, you know what? If you print it bigger, it ends up it's easier to paint. Imagine that. Lauren Robbins, hey, my hands are shaky now, and my brush tip looks like a geriatric Zorro sword tip. I know how that goes. It's something else I learned is trying to get steady is rough, that's for sure. And then a lot of it is just kind of like basing both of your arms on the table, having two points of contact, and then just working with your brush, and that helped immensely. So I remember it was like having both of my arms move in, and having a good foundation is definitely the way to go. And just kind of settle in. But yeah, I got some brush tips that are rough, to say the least. And it is what it is. But then again, I don't have like really expensive brush tips or brushes, so it's kind of like, that's okay. So I got a little bit of color on there on his claws. I wish this was a little bit brighter though. But that'll work. It's good enough for government work. So we're kind of running out of things to do. I think we're good with the silver. And that's, you mentioned the tips. It's funny because on this one, the tip kind of like does a little thing up there. And there's a couple others where I've kind of got the same thing, where the tip's got a little bit of a hook on the end. And like this one's really bad. That one, it kind of just angles up, but oh well. Not too big of a loss, because it's not like I spent a ton of money. But don't get ink in the ferrule, or don't get paints in the ferrule, or inks for that matter. So for those of you who are just starting, you have the handle, you have this part here, and then right where the brushes go in to right where that metal part is and up here, that's called the ferrule. And if, when you paint, you just do like the lower third, put paint on the lower third of the brush. Because if you get paint on all the way up to where the ferrule is. That's where the glue is attached to where these bristles are. And then the other problem is that the paint gets in there. That's why your brush is spread apart, is because it's clogged. So yeah, I didn't find that out until much later. So yeah, there's that. What are we gonna do now? Let's do some blood. Because I'm kind of putting off the face. The face and the beard I'm kind of holding off on. So, I mean, because I'm not sure what color we're going to do. You know, I thought about, well, maybe we could do like a yellow, but I mean, that would be really, really crazy. So I don't think I want to do that. And then do I do it as black? I could do it as black, and then I could dry brush on some details. That might work. But first, I guess we got to do the skin. So, Ferthus, hey, my man, he's back. Doing some more painting on our dude here, the dude. And we just finished doing some washes, a little bit of silver, and did a wash on the cape, which is horrendous, but so much detail on the model, but the cape, it's kind of like an afterthought. Beard color. I don't know. We were just talking about that. I see a redhead. Red? Interesting, because I was throwing out there, and it's like, that would be too much contrast. Red, we've got, I don't know, we need like a dark red. Poppy red? That's what the red is on here, but I don't think that's the red we want. Or we could go with something, the bright red. So the bright red might work. I'm really not sure. So maybe that one. I was thinking about doing the grim black, and then that would allow for some highlights, but that would really darken up. But the red, I think, would be nice, because that would kind of force you to look at this dude. Ferthus says, yeah, he looks like a Scotsman. Oh, it says he's almost done with a xenomorph. Okay. Yeah, using the same color as the armor, yeah. It would probably be, yeah, something definitely more orange, because otherwise it would just bleed into each other. So, yeah, maybe the bright red. Yeah, maybe the bright red, and Ferthus says, bright red, orange highlights. Yeah, because we do have that nuclear sunrise that could work for some highlights. So yeah, do hot pink will be more alluring for the eyes. Hot pink? Familiar pink? That would be, could go brown. Yeah, I'm not feeling the pink there. Brown with orange highlights, yeah, but I've got a lot of brown in there already. You know, I've got the satchel brown, I've got the fire drake brown right there, and if I do more fire drake, that's why I was kind of wanting to do something a little bit brighter. So, but the orange highlights could work with that. While we're trying to make that decision, what we can do is paint his face. And we could do some peachy flesh. So, paint games, I don't know, anything. More people should be using pinks. You know, honestly, I haven't used that many pinks, so maybe I should. But let's start off, and at least we can get his face. Because we've got... We can do his face with the pink. And I think that'll work. Ferrith says, I think the beard should pop a little. That's why 6 is bright and orange highlights. Bright red and orange highlights. Yeah, that could definitely give some color. That would definitely draw your attention to the face. So, that is a distinct possibility. Definitely, and like paint games, I don't know anything, you know, maybe the lighter color would come into play, kind of like a pink. But let's see how we can do his face. A little bit on the air. I don't know if this is going to work because, again, this is kind of like a wash. So we're not going to get a real good color there. See what I mean? Yeah. And it's not white enough. There's not enough white on his face for this to work. So I think we might have to do is go with some regular army painter paints. Yeah, that's just going to give like a tinge. It's not really going to do anything on there. Yeah, it's just not white enough. That's what the problem is. Okay, we got some comments. Ferrith says, my xenomorph has to wait tonight. I have to fix my printer. Oh no! Has been throwing a bunch of very strange and unrelated errors all over the place, and I have like a day print queue. Paint Games I Don't Know Anything says, if you give hair a blue undercoat with light gray and white, making him look old in a cold environment will also contrast to the red armor. You know, blue undercoat with light gray and white highlights. I think you might be onto something there. Blue undercoat. We've got some tidal wave blue, and then we've got some royal robe blue. So I'm thinking maybe royal robe blue. And then as far as light gray, we've got like the ashen stone. That could work. And then some white. Of course, the white we'd have to go back. That would probably be good to dry brush that on. But we need to get some... yeah, I think we'll just have to leave the orange out of there. But we need to do some flesh. Flesh. Barbarian flesh. And some other one. No, that's lava orange. Elven flesh. No. We need to do the barbarian flesh, I think, should work. Ferrith says, if he's supposed to be a dwarf, redhead, it should be a very light skin tone. Yeah, that's true. Paint Games I Don't Know Anything says, I live in the northern hemisphere. I know my colds. As long as you know your colds and don't have colds. So I think we can go with the barbarian flesh because he's not really a dwarf. So I think we'll be good for this on the skin. And then what we'll end up doing is the royal blue, the ashen stone, and then we'll do some white highlights on there. Try to dry brush on those. So, what model? Kyle's welcome to the show. Kyle says, what model is it? He is huge. This guy, I got him off of Colts 3D. way back in the day, and I can't remember because this is one of the first prints that I did on my resin printer, but I got the model like months and months before that, and yeah, I just kind of scaled them up. It was 32 millimeter, I think, and I scaled them up to this size. So, because I was tired of painting real small, tiny people. So, yeah, but it's turned out pretty good. So, and I don't know the name of the file, but it is awesome. It is awesome. So let's go ahead and we'll do Barbarian Flesh, because he is kind of a barbarian-ish. He doesn't have really the dwarf stature or proportions. So, oh man, that hasn't been mixed up in a while. So we're not going to run with the dwarf type of thing. So we'll see how that goes. Let me turn on the overhead light. I want to get into painting bigger models as well. My eyeballs hurt after a while. And my hands shake after a while. So that's another thing that comes into play. Trying to do all the details on a smaller model is a pain in the butt, that's for sure. So I totally get that. Paint games, I don't know, anything says the skin can be light but dirty downed with browns representing dirt, with hair. I suggest we have an old hardworking, I get this little thing, I can't read that. The skin can be light but dirty down with browns representing dirt. With the hair, I suggested we have an old, hardworking character who lives in a cold environment. I like that. I like that. And since I'm older, and since I have worked hard, and I do better in the cold, which matter of fact, I gotta turn the air conditioner up. Oh, no wonder. I didn't have the air conditioner on, I had just the blower, the fan. So yeah, no wonder I was getting a little warm. I do so much better in cold weather. So, okay, a little bit of Barbarian Flesh. Here we go. This dude can be you. Well, minus the beard. I just recently cleaned up and shaved. So, but yeah, that would be good. Just put a little bit of water in there. Probably way too much paint. Yes, it is way too much paint. Why did you put so much paint? I am getting better though. I'm learning to conserve. This would be interesting. But yeah, I definitely like the colder weather. And here I am in Korea. And Korea is rough for the summers, that's for sure. I'm just gonna try to put some more so we can get some a little bit of highlights on his, or a little bit more coverage on the cheeks, and then of course And then his ear, which is way back there. That you can barely see. And that one. So yeah, that's not too bad. And the other thing I think we can do let's see. And just get a little bit on. Let's see, we get a question. Paint Games, I don't know anything says, I can't survive warm over 25 Celsius, but minus 25, and we have a nice winter weather. Yeah, I'm definitely for the cooler weathers myself. In Freedom units, it would be 60, 65, I'm great. Even 55, 50, 55 degrees, whatever that comes out Celsius, I'm not sure. But when it hits like, you know, definitely the 80s or 20, yeah, anything above 25 Celsius, yeah, I'm just hating life. So it is what it is. So, and the other thing I like about bigger models is that his eyebrows really got nuked there. With bigger models, it's easier to paint. So, yeah. I definitely like the cooler weather. My wife is the exact opposite. She loves the warmer weather. When it gets down to like 70 degrees, she'll put on a sweater. Then we have a question. How long have you been painting miniatures? I've just been painting for about 2 years. Yeah, about 2 years now. So, last time, prior to that, last time I had painted something was, I was like 10 or 11 years old, something like that. So, that was, and then I took a break, a long break, started working, do adult stuff, and then, then retired early at 54, and then got over here to Korea. We've been here 2.5 years, so about 6 months in, started getting into painting and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been just over 2 years, I think. So, and it's been YouTube videos and watching and just kind of trying to make things work. So, let's see. Faritha says 78 to 80 is my sweet spot for winter in Florida. 90 in summer with a breeze. Paint Games, I don't know anything, says 2 years. Nice. I'm close to 4 years with 500 minis deep. Dang, bro. I don't know how many minis I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then let me do a quick count. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43. And I got some more there. So I probably get about, and if you count bigger stuff like this one counts, what does Gimli say? This counts as 5. But 500, wow. That's crazy, dude. Wow, that's impressive. I am I'm nowhere near that. But I've done batches. I've done batches of miniatures and of the Warhammer 40K-ish people. So I've done that, but I haven't done like a full army or, it's just, I find something I like, I paint it, I do it, and then I move on to something else. But the Warhammer has been the most consistent, I should say. So, and we're gonna run with the blue. I don't know. We'll see. Paint Games I Don't Know Anything says they look awesome. I legit though, you were a 15-20 year miniature painter veteran. Oh wow, no. Thank you very much. That is an awesome compliment. Ferrithus says, Steve definitely has skills way beyond me at least. Paint Game says, I play 40K Horde armies, so the miniature count goes up fast. I would like to try Warhammer. Or one-page rules, which is kind of like a cheaper version of Warhammer. But just in this location, I guess there's just not a lot of people that do that. And I need to, I don't know, I really need to get back into it, or not get back into it, or kind of get out there and see if they have some games. Just do like a kill squad and try to learn how to play and see if that's something I would like to do. But with the painting thing, I don't know. I like the painting thing. Maybe, but 500 huge, vast amounts, that would be rough. I would have to do kind of like with this, go through, do the assembly line, do all the base armor blue, next guy, base armor blue, next guy, and then, come back and do that assembly line stuff. So I think that would be, I don't know, I have squirrel moments. My attention wanders. Ferrithus says, wow, I think I solved one of the issues my printer had. Some loose cable in the print head. It's recognizing the nozzle again. Oh, okay, good. Print Game says, one-page rules is cheaper since the models cost double the amount in points. Yeah, Warhammer stuff is crazy expensive. Okay, I guess we can go with the blue. This is going to be the royal blue. What do you think of that? Paint Games I Don't Know Anything. For the guy that doesn't know anything, do you think that blue would work? We've got that blue. We've got Beowulf blue, which you can see there. And that's not a blue. And the other blue I have is tidal wave blue. So, yeah, interesting. I'm not sure which one I should use. So this is kind of a darker. There's that one, and then this is the lighter one. So Royal Robes, Beowulf blue, or tidal blue. Let me know which one, and we will proceed. Let's see. I Don't Know Anything says close to 200 Tyranids, 60 to 80 Necrons, 60 Guard Minis, 70 models for Star Wars Legion, 50 Space Marines, 50 Eos Minis. Wow. That is a lot, dude. That would be cool just to see all those. That would be cool. Wow, awesome stuff. Okay, let's see. Recommendation, Beowulf. Beowulf it is. We're going to run with it. So if it crashes and burns, it's going to be, I don't know's fault. I don't know whose fault it will be. says, especially if you're going to do with more gray or white hair. Yeah, I can kind of see that. There was another one I did. I can't remember. Where do I have it? I don't know. Somewhere. So let's get on this Beowulf and see what happens. Hair and beard transformation. Here we go. Actually, I could probably use a little bit of a thicker brush. Therapist says, there are no mistakes, only happy accidents. Somebody's been watching Bob Ross. Okay, let's see how this goes. That is just odd. Let's see how that goes. So, on the side there. There it is. So we've got the blue-haired dude. Okay, we're gonna run with it and see what happens. I don't know, anything says, I've used the same 6 brushes for the last 2 years and I no longer any tips. Is that stopping me from doing eyes freehand? No, I just need to improve my skills more than others. Or you could just buy some nice paintbrushes. There's always that option. There is something to be said for good equipment. I think. Beowulf Blue. A little more droppage. And we will get this going. Okay, we got the blue-haired dude. That'll be interesting. Alrighty, we're trusting you. Okay, we got some more comments. Looks good. Now I've mixed that blue with medium color for a start of raised edges. The blue hair surrounding the face elevates too because of the clash of cold versus warm. Yeah. Speaking of equipment, says Ferris, One more week for my laser to ship. All right, awesome. I'm holding off on the laser. I'm looking at that Raleigh Lasermatic, that Galvo laser thing that we got going on. Wait a second here. And I don't know anything. It says, besides painting miniatures, I draw, write, and study in college. Cool. Awesome stuff. I do a little bit of writing. I don't do any drawing. And I was writing a book. I was writing a book on physical fitness, exercise, specifically for hypertrophy, strength gains, stuff like that. Because I go to the gym a lot. And so going over studies, meta-analysis, things like that, nutrition, real big on nutrition and all that. I was really able to get some good size and tweak my own routine with stuff that has been found to actually work, in studies and meta-analysis. So I was writing a book on that. I think I got like 300 and some odd pages, but other than that, it's like, let's see. Totally get that. I would do that too. Awesome machine, that Galvomatic. Yeah, it is. I don't know, anything says, I write my own sci-fi, and most of my drawing is just concept art for things in the sci-fi world. Cool. I like that. I draw stick figures, so head, there's the body, the legs, the arms. Yeah, I'm not into drawing at all. So we can put the barbarian flesh away. And now go over with a stone, or you're talking about using the Beowulf with a medium. Yeah, you said you would mix the blue with medium color and start at the raised edges. So you're talking about like the medium. My cap came off. Oh no. The caps on these things are like super slick. I mean, that's the slickest surface that I have come across. And trying to put these bottle toppers on here, put some super glue and it's good to go, but with usually like on the other ones. But yeah, I've had to get some. Now where's my super glue? Yeah, these paint toppers just pop off. Stick figures can tell a story. Yes, they can. Stick figures can tell a story. I mean, if stick figures were a big thing, I could probably do pretty well. So, let me just fix my little topper bottle thing here. Do it while I get the chance, because if I don't, it won't get done. Boom, we should be going. So some medium with the Beowulf blue. Okay. But I could just go with an ashen stone and put that on there. Or I could dry brush kind of a white or a stony color. Not like white, but maybe something with like an ash gray. I could hit that. I don't know. I've never, in my vast amount of time of painting, all of maybe 2 years, just over 2 years, I have never used medium. So we will give this a shot. And we will see what happens. It says mix the Beowulf and medium color like a dark gray or light gray depending on how white you want the hair to be. A bit of sandpaper, scratch up the top. Yep. Alrighty. I don't know if you have to. It's got a couple of balls in there. So I'll just do about that amount, whatever that comes out to be. And this brush, just kind of draw some of this here and some of that. I don't know if that's going to work, man. Because that's really just going to give me a... Maybe I just need to do more. I don't know, it just ends up being a real lighter blue. We'll give it a shot. We will give it a shot and see what happens. I don't know if that's going to do anything there. Maybe with regular paints that would work. But we're not really getting a... Well, kinda. I don't know if it's just reactivating the speed paint. And just kind of coming off on the, I think that might be what it's doing. It's just reactivating, and then it's kind of just taken off a little bit of the top edges, kind of like dry brushing. It just seems to be taking away some color there. Maybe, I don't know, in this case, maybe I see what you're saying, and I can picture that, but I'm wondering, so I think with the medium, it just kind of reactivates, and I'm just able to brush the high spots. In other words, it's almost like it's a dry brush with some color. So it leaves it in the recesses. I don't know. You can see it a little bit, but I think it's just actually reactivating the speed paint that's already on there. But we do get some definition. And I'm wondering if, and the thing is, these are like, speed paints are like washes almost, or ink. Let's see, we got some comments. Mix the wolf and medium. Okay, take a bit of sandpaper and scratch up the top. Okay, we got that. 6, 7 months into painting, I started to mix my colors to create more gradient. Cool. And that's something I never really got into much. Oh, sorry, I meant medium. I was thinking of the medium color shift, like the gray being the medium between white and black. Well, I wouldn't say it worked. I think what ended up happening is we had the blue on there, the Beowulf blue, and then as we used that medium when we put it on there, it basically just kind of, as we rubbed the brush across, it just kind of took the blue that was all over everything, and on the raised areas, it just kind of rubbed that off a little bit. So again, just kind of like a dry brushing, just removing the previous paint. So I think we'd have to do, so we got a little bit of that going, a little bit. I think what would work would be a dry brush. If we do a little bit of dry brush, then that would be able to do that. Now we're going to wait for this to dry. So what we can end up doing is we can go back to the face. Oh, those eyes are going to be terrible. Maybe I can put a little bit of darker color on there, like a wash, for kind of the sunken areas, and see if we can get a little bit of something besides just that one color. So. Looks more grayish. Just layer up with more gray and the effect will take place. So I guess we could do the blue. But the speed paint doesn't have like a white. We have an ashen stone. That's about the closest thing to white that we have. This might work. Give it a shot. Just do a little dab on here and see if that can do anything. Slightly wet your brush before dripping your brush in the paint. It will keep the dry brush from looking dusty. Okay. Oh yeah, I've only been using, the majority of this is speed paint. The only thing that I didn't use speed paint for was the skeleton bone on the skulls, the mummy robes on this, and then we did a wash over that. And then the face, we did what was it, the barbarian flesh for his face color, because the speed paints don't really have a kind of a, it's like a colored wash. So everything on here has been speed paint. And that's the same thing with like this guy here, about, with the exception of the skeleton bone teeth and the UV resin that I put over these colors here, everything else on here has been speed paints. And I think maybe lead belcher from Citadel. So, and in the eyes, I ended up using Army Painter paint and then paint marker, fine tip marker to do the eyes. So, yeah, that's where we ended up. So yeah, it's the majority has been speed paints. So yeah, let's see what else we got. Paint Games I Don't Know Anything says, I primarily use acrylic paints, so I think my tips are a bit hard to replicate. With the speed paints, yeah. I think so, because it's more like a colored wash or ink, and it really lets that zenithal come through when we do that. So if you've got good gradient on your zenithal, your dry brushing, like I dry brushed this guy, you could get some real good details on this with dry brushing. But with the zenithal, with an airbrush, you could do some really good stuff, and that's what I've been finding out. It just turns out you can get that gradient. So let's see, Beowulf Blue. Let's check out this Ashen Stone and see. That's going to be too dark, I think. So, yeah, I think that's just going to be. That could work. But yeah, that'll definitely, yeah, we could probably do some little dry brush action. And we might, this is my little tiny one. Paint Game says, I would recommend getting ivory for your collection, since wash paints can be mixed with normal acrylics and you can get a hybrid between them. Ivory. That could be good. Okay. There's just not. That's a little bit. I don't know about that. I think we'd have to go with. Where does that go? I think we would have to go with actually an acrylic. Ash gray. No, that's too gray. Ash gray and a little bit of, maybe a little bit of white. We could try that, because that could give it a shot. Paint Game says, I use this hybrid for throwing up my mistakes on my Tyranids. Oh, for touching up. Oh man. I think I've used this twice. This ash gray. And these regular army painter ones are, they are rough. They definitely need, because you can't even hear that ball in there. That's why I like the speed paints, is they're just so easy to mix. And even the airbrush paints are more diluted and easier to use, because this is just, That's going to need a lot of mixing. But it comes out pretty good though. I think we can start to hear it a little bit. Paint games, I don't know anything, says I will now need to go because it's 2 for me and I'm super tired. I'll leave you one last tip. Seco Miniatures on YouTube makes quick tutorials on more advanced techniques. Goodbye and have a great life. All right, well, cool. Thank you for all the tips. I appreciate that. And have a good sleep. 2, yeah, definitely go get some sleep, dude. Ferrith says, I think I have an idea what the fundamental problem is on the printer. And with the blue beard, it turned out really nice. It's getting there. It's getting there. Man, this ash gray is just, it is a bear. Wow, that comes out thick, thick, thick. And we'll need some water. And we will mix this up and see how we can. Man, that paint is really. Okay. Let's see what we can end up doing here. Maybe we can get a little bit more. Might have been too diluted. I might have been too diluted. I think it's too diluted. Dang it. Seriously. It's just so thick. Good thing we don't need a lot. In there. That might be better. Yeah, that would be better. Just gonna try to get the highlights. So we got a little bit in there. So we got a little bit of color in there. It's not too bad. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Thinking about it, maybe the red. Maybe a red beard type guy. We could always go back and do that. I don't know. What can we do? No accidents, only happy mistakes. Was that it? Let's see. With the Bluebeard, it turned out really nice. Print games, 2 a.m. Must be Central Europe. Problem is, definitely in the print head, some connection is loose. Oh, with your printer, yeah. Yeah, hopefully. And that's what I've noticed on the K2 Plus is that they have the connections on there and then they hot glue a lot of them on there. So I don't know if it wasn't just set good and then they hot glued it and there's, wasn't fully seated. Maybe that was it. No mistakes, only happy accidents. I don't know, with the blue, that kind of looks good. But deep in his mouth, that's just, you can't even see the flesh in there. Talking about flesh, I think we can go and we can put a little bit of wash on there and see if we can't darken that up a bit. I think I'm going to get a silicone tray. I'm going to try that out and see how that works out. Silicone tray with like the little round, maybe 1/3 little circles. So it's just kind of like a little indentation. I mean, this works okay, I guess. I don't know. I'm a sucker for little deals. Let's move on to some wash action. Do some flesh wash, and maybe we can get a little bit more going on. Veritha says, I had it open, not hot glue. I just see errors thrown up in fluid that point to the print head assembly. Wasn't even able to print until I just pushed on a few connectors in there. Oh wow. I'm non-stop printing though for months now, so not surprised there's some maintenance. Printing, printing, printing. Always fun. Let's see what some wash action will do. Kind of test that in the back. The ear a little bit. So small details. Like, yeah, on the ear that is you can barely see, got a little bit of color. Let's see what we get. A little bit of color on there. Let's see. So that added a little bit. Makes it a little bit better than just the splash of pink that we had on there. But I think with this, we can go ahead and let that dry. And the eyes, good Lord, that is so small. We're gonna have to come back and do the eyes later. We'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes. I guess what we could do is go in and we could do some blood splatter on the blade, which, nope, not poppy red. Was it slaughter? Where's my slaughter? Slaughter red. Erica says, I'm at a point where is it made of plastic? And I'm not buying it, I'm printing my own. Yeah, I totally get that. You know, speaking about printing stuff, I was looking at, since I'm going to be upgrading my camera equipment, instead of using these little webcams, I'm going to try to get the Nearstream, actually I'm not try, I ordered the Nearstream VM20. And it's kind of a bigger camera that you can use with a video switcher, which I picked up one of those, and eventually I'll get a DLSR camera. That'll be a ton of money to try to get better quality pictures. But with that, I was looking at a teleprompter and I was like, holy crow, that's too expensive. So I found a teleprompter. I started making one online on Tinkercad, and then I watching videos, and then I saw one that was like, hey, all the work's already done. The file was only like $5, and then the hardware was like another 100 and something. And it's, yeah, it'll be a good teleprompter. So considering the price of teleprompters, you know, I'm saving money on that. So, yeah. Alrighty. We're going to try to do something I've never done before, so you all get to see it. We're going to try splattering some paint around. I'll see how that works. Ferrithus says, I've had really good success with eyes. Giving them a tiny white dot as light reflection really gives it to the dimensions. Yeah. I totally agree with that. Usually what I'll do is I'll put in the white first, and this is probably the best set of eyes that came in there. So I did white with a little bit of kind of like a green, and then, but I cheated with using a fine tip, fine point, smooth marker. These are from Japan or whatever. So super smooth point. And then what you're able to do is just boom, dot, and you got your pupil. So I cheat, yeah, I cheat. There's nothing wrong with cheating. Okay, flicking paint, paint flicking 101. We'll see how this goes. So we're gonna go like this and see how that works. So we're gonna get a bunch of this paint here, and we're gonna flick it and see if it it's not really paint flicking is not working. Maybe I need a toothbrush, because that is not the desired effect. Oh, that's funny. Flicking the paint and it's all going on my finger. So you know what that means. We're gonna have to do my favorite, which is going to be my little sponge. So there we go. There's my sponge, and I've had better results with this thing then all of that. So let's get to it. We'll just kind of dab that on there. Yeah. That looks better. That looks much better than the paint flicking we did. That'll look much better. Just kind of put on a little bit there, and maybe just a little bit of like so. Put a little bit on that little base there a little bit. Jake Lewis pops in and says, "What up? Just doing a little bit of painting. Chilling out here in Korea. Putting some blood on a stick on our dude here." So there we go. And the question is from Jake, is that you as a Chaos Space Marine? Could be. Could be. It's turning out pretty good. I am old, but I did shave off what little beard I have. So if he had a goatee, maybe that would work. But yeah, this guy's coming out pretty good. And I think what I'll do down here on the rock is I'll pool the blood and we will just have it like dripping blood. I think that'll work. So we're gonna need some more. More! Oh, you know what would be really good? Space Wolf? You know, honestly, I'm not sure what he is. I'm not that well versed in Warhammer lore. So, yeah, sure, yes it is. Whatever it comes out to be. I'm just painting it so I think it looks cool. So, and we're just gonna. Just kind of add some blood down here at the bottom. Like it's dripping. Dripping and pooling. Got that. So yeah, there we go. Looking good, I think. We'll still have to do some work on the rock, because all that is just dry brushed, but I want to put some brown in there a little bit. But this is what we have so far, so I think it's turned out pretty good. And I want to put a little bit of blood on his fingertips. So we've got a little bit of silver in there, but then we also have the blood on his claws. And you know what? I think what I'll do is we will also kind of do that sponge action. Put some, let's see how this will react to the hand. I don't think we're going to be able to see that much of it. Yeah, that blood splatter is going to be, the red on red isn't really going to do much on there. I'm still missing a nice blood color. Tried mixing one today, it's more red than blood. The speed paint, Slaughter Red is pretty good. And yeah, this is turning out pretty good. Another color that I've found that works well is Dragon Red. That comes out really nice. So you could get some good color on that. You could always mix some different colors. Of course, you have the regular army paint and then the speed paint. The Dragon Red comes out really red. Matter of fact, why don't we throw some of that on there? See how that pops up. Yeah, I guess Space Wolf. Like I said, I'm not big on the lore, but I'm painting them because they look cool, and yeah. And I've been painting for just over 2 years, so at the ripe old age in my 50s, higher 50s. But it's been pretty good. ferret that says, well, so far I only have $1 craft paint for Michael's. Yeah, that you'd have to mix some colors up to do that. I ended up getting some acrylic paints from like Daiso, which is kind of like a dollar store hobby, all around general place. But those paints were horrible. I didn't know how good I had it when I had these paints. It was just, yeah, it makes a huge difference. So let's see how these do. Let's try a little bit of a smaller brush. And this turns out pretty good too. And, you know, as expensive as the Army Painter paints are, yeah, that looks really, really blood red. So yeah, the Dragon Red is the bomb. So we'll see if oh yeah. This is almost like it would be a oh, this is the bomb. Like you could use this to oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is it. Between that red that we had and then this stuff here, the Dragon Red, you can highlight it. That makes that pop like mad. Mad pop. That is the bomb. Oh, that makes a huge difference. You do like edge highlighting with this stuff. Oh, look at that. That is coming out awesome. Up to the blade we go. Oh yeah. That is good. Highlighting in blood. Oh yeah, that is good. Of course I put too much on my palette, but oh, that is really bringing out some. Oh, Definitely. Dragon red is it, gentlemen. Highlighting in blood. Make sure we get a lot on that. I try to find a steady spot instead of shaking all over the place. Oh yeah. That is good. Oh, I love that. It gives that dimension. Little blotches. Yeah, that is it. Do a little bit on his claws. Oh, yeah. And I think what we can end up doing. It's not real pronounced, but get a little bit of splatter on there. We might have to do a little bit more. Thought I used too much, but no. Dragon red is the bomb. Now I'll do some bit of blood splatter. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I think that is good. That is turning out really, really nice. Yeah. Nothing like a little bit of blood. So, yeah. And maybe a little bit of dry brushing to get just the highlights on the top of that guy. Is that focusing in? Let me see if I can get a piece of paper or something. Let's try to get it. See if this thing can focus in a little bit better. So there we go. Hopefully this will turn out, because the live feed is like, it's like a minute behind or so. Yeah, I think that turned out well. Turned out well. So yeah. Blood for the blood god. Yeah. Bertha says, I like it a lot. I never know what details to put on once the base coats are done. Yeah, I get that. I was watching a video, I can't remember who it was, but it's saying where you really make your money is on the base. Because if it's just like a black base, it's like, you know, no effort put into it. But if you have a really killer base, then that sets it apart as far as like minis. But then again, if you have a super detailed base and your mini is kind of like, meh, you know. So I think there needs to be that balance. And the rocks, we could end up putting, we could definitely put in some brown in there, maybe some moss. I think that'd be the next thing to do is some moss. So I think that would come out nice. So let me see if we can get a better view of this. I'm going to undo this camera and I'm going to try to, I'm going to move it over. So you all might get a little seasick, but I want to try to focus on this thing. So I'm going to take all my Velcro straps off. See how this ends up. If I can get a closer camera view. Okay, hold on to your hats. And there. Let's see if we can get some. We'll see how that looks. Some of the details. there it is. I think that turned out pretty good. That turned out nice. See if we can get a little bit closer. So yeah, definitely digging this. And then down here at the bottom with the blood on the rock and stuff, that just turned out really, that is sick. I love that. So yeah, I would say that is a win. That is a win. So, of course, it's got the shadows on there and everything, but I'll put you all back here. And now, man, that, all my little Velcro pieces. But yeah, that turned out nice. I am digging that. I am really happy about that. That turned out really well. That's swell. Gee, Beeve. Nice, nice, nice. Alrighty. Let's see, what else could we end up doing? We could do some green on the bottom, and with that, what is it, the dirty down mold? Not mold. What am I thinking of? What the hell is it? Moss. Mold, moss, the green stuff. The green stuff. I think we could add in some green in there, and maybe even the rest. I don't know. Not so much of the rust on the rocks. I don't think that would work out good. Maybe streaking grime. No, it's going to be a little bit too dark. But I think we could do the moss. I think the moss will really add a little bit more color, because we got so many browns, brown, red, everything like that. And then I think this green in some of these areas on the base will kind of set that off, and maybe even later we could come in and do some now, which one is my crappy brush? Is it this one? Yeah, that's kind of my crappy brush. Yeah, this dirty down moss, it'll ruin your brushes in a heartbeat. So have a crappy brush for this, and now I got me doubting which. No, that one's nice. This is crappy. Yeah. And we'll throw down some moss on here. And some key areas. I think this moss will help. Kind of give some more, definitely some more color. It's almost like it's a, put it into the recesses. We can get a little bit of just a little bit of different color in there. I think that'll work. That will work. Yeah, that'll be good. Definitely break up all of that just black with dry brush. Not that I need to do a lot, but yeah, that's coming in good. Again, that moss just really does bring out some good colors. Just kind of breaks up that base a little bit. I think that really does well. Yeah, I think that is pretty good. I think that is going to be good enough for government work. That is some rough stuff on brushes. Rough. That'll just tear your brushes up. Yeah. My daughter was like, "Hey, you want some better brushes?" And I'm like, I don't think I'm there yet. Alrighty. See, the moss and the stone is standing on. That way it doesn't match too much to the beard anymore. Yeah, that's true. Comes out pretty good. Okay, still have some steps to complete, so I'll swing my butt on the treadmill. It was good seeing you, as always. Yes, same to you. It was good. Enjoy your treadmill, and thanks for coming in and watching the painting, the discussion. That was always good. So, yeah, that's some rough stuff. We're just going to let that soak. So yeah, there it is. And I think what I might end up doing with this is, once this is good, I might even come back with a white dry brush on his hair, so that way we get some more highlights on the hair, and then definitely on the bear's head we can do some dry brushing on that and get a little bit, on the feathers and stuff like that, we get a little bit more details. And then as far as like some of this other stuff, I don't know, maybe we'll come back with some rust, and we could probably do the rust now. We could just sponge on some of this rust, but this stuff is like, I don't know if you can see it, those are the two steel ball bearings. That's how thick this stuff is. When I first got this stuff, I had to get a stirring stick and to stir it up, because that's how coagulated it was at the bottom of this. And I might even have to do that again. Because you're not even hearing the steel bearings in here. Now you are. But yeah, this stuff will really, really just solidify. I wonder if I can, let me get something. No, this is not a Coke spoon. Yeah, see how that is all googly, goopy. It's got a little. That is just so thick, worse than molasses. That's a espresso little art thing. What are we going to do this? Oh, we're going to do our little sponge thing, I think. Maybe. If we can just do it. Let me stir this up a little bit more. And then we'll just do some little tiny sponge action on the rust, and just try to do some edging and see if we can just add a little bit more detail. But other than that, I think a little bit of dry brushing, we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back to dry brush it. We'll just do this little last bit. Stay over there. See how this goes. Ooh, that's a lot. Dang it. That's a lot. That is way too much a lot. And see if we can just do a little bit of just a little bit of details, just on some edges. . 'Cause, 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 'cause break it up a little bit. Just on some edges. I don't know how well this will work on here, but we'll see. Oh yeah, that's coming out nice. Especially on that silver, it just comes out pretty good. There we go. I think we are good. I think we detailed this thing out a lot. Alrighty. Grimmed out. That turned out good. And the wife is back. Hi, sweetie. So, that is going to be it. I think that's going to be it for now. Wife is back. Gonna have something to eat. And we have finished up with our dude. Hey. So, yeah, there it is. And Let's see if we can set this guy up. And we'll kind of show you. Hold on to your hats, folks. We'll see how that goes. So we see the green ended up pretty good. Kind of battle worn. Yeah, I think that turned out really, really well. My hands are shaking. No, don't fall. So, yeah, ended up being pretty good. I think that worked out well. So, got some real good details on there. The blood is high speed, low drag. And again, over here. Stop moving. It's not wanting to balance. There we go. So yeah, there it is. I think that came out really, really well. Really well. So yeah, nice. Couldn't have done it without y'all. Came out good. Good. Oh, that came out good. So there you have it. A few minor details that we're gonna get in there, but for the most part, and then the eyes. How am I gonna get that? So tiny. I don't even know if I'll do the eyes on that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's what we ended up having is our Warhammer dude. So we did a number of shots on this, and yeah, it turned out really good. The majority of it is speed paints, and again, what we ended up doing is taking this, just a resin printed model, primed it with black, and then after that, we just went through, we did dry brush highlighting on it. So the dry brushing came out pretty good. And then, yeah, just went to town with the speed paints. Added in some skeleton bone from the regular army painter for the skulls. What were some of the, we did use the flesh wash, the barbarian flesh for the face, and then we ended up with a soft flesh wash for the face, and then we also did that for the skulls to get some depth in there and some color. So yeah, and then then we used the that wasn't poppy red, it was slaughter red. We used slaughter red as the base red for the blood, which makes it look like it's dried. And then we came back with the dragon red of the Army Painter War Paints, and that looks like more fresh blood. And so with a combination of these two, using the dragon red as a highlight, really made the blood pop. So yeah, that turned out great. So I think what we'll end up doing is we'll just call this good, and there we have it. That is the dude. Again, probably a little bit of dry brushing on the bear's head on his shoulder, and maybe on his hair just to get some edge highlighting on there. And well, that'll be another video. I think we'll do another video We'll come back, we'll do the dry brushing, and then we'll do some edge highlightings. So we'll have to pull out the silver again, and on the edges of certain things, we'll put the highlights on there and get a few more details. And yeah, I think the moss came out really well. So yeah, good stuff. Alrighty. That's going to be it. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and we'll go to the ending page. The ending page is there. And and I think what I got to do, can I zoom in? I think I can zoom in. And there is our dude. So, can I get him to where he's at a good position? See how that looks? Now it needs to go up just a hair more. It's like it needs to be like right there. Stay. Kind of like a dog. Sit, Boo, sit. And then that's as much as I can zoom in. So anyway, with that being said, that's going to be it for today. We ended up painting this guy. He turned out really well, so definitely a thumbs up. If you enjoyed any part of the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. If you want to send me an email, there's the email address down below. Scrolling ticker, people who bought me coffee, so there's a link for that. That's cool. But the best thing that you could do is give a like on this video. So share it, like it, subscribe it. That would be the best thing that you can do. So that being said, thank you everybody for the conversation and watching and checking it out. And we will see you on the next video. All right, peace.